Our top focus this afternoon, Pakistan's National Security Advisor Sartaj Aziz blamed the Indian administration over the possibility of cancellation of bilateral talks slated to take place in under 48 hours from now. In his press conference in Islamabad, Sartaj Aziz took on the Indian government, even claiming that he was ready to travel to New Delhi if the Indian side did not place any preconditions to Pakistan's diplomacy. Aziz even termed the Ministry of External Affairs' statement on Pakistan hilarious. The Pak NSA put the ball back in India's court, saying he has 3 dossiers of Raw's alleged involvement in activities in Pakistan. Islamabad even claimed that Kashmir was part of the UFA declaration and called it the most important outstanding issue in bilateral diplomacy.
बातचीत करने को तैयार है। एनएसए के स्तर पर यह बात होनी है। एजेंडा में कोई परिवर्तन नहीं हो सकता और हम लोगों का एजेंडा केवल एक है कि यदि होगी तो आतंकवाद पर बात होगी, टॉक ऑन टेरर।
Let's get in a word from our team of reporters tracking this big story. For us, we have Kasfar Klasra live from Islamabad. Also with us, Maha Siddiqui from the national capital. Maha, I want to come to you first. The blame game over talks. Deadlock continues. Pak pushing the ball back into India's court. In fact, Sartaj Aziz also saying that he's willing to come to India if New Delhi doesn't impose any preconditions.
Absolutely. He's saying if New Delhi doesn't impose any preconditions, but according to New Delhi, and it has made it stand very clear, is that this is not a precondition. That meeting with Hurriyat is a distortion of the agenda that was decided in UFA. Now, clearly, both the countries are differently interpreting it. As we understand, India is looking at point number 1, which said that the 2 NSAs will meet and terrorism will be the focus of discussion. What Pakistan is now saying, I'm sorry, is that there were other 2 points as well, which said that all outstanding issues will be discussed. And Pakistan says that all outstanding issues, for them, the most important issue is Kashmir, and therefore they will go ahead and meet Hurriyat leaders, also terming the detention of Shabir Shah, who's landed in Delhi, as disturbing. So clearly Pakistan is sticking to its stand. It has thrown the ball back into India's court. Sartaj Aziz, in fact, even went to the extent of saying that they are now looking at the press conference that is going to happen at 4 p.m. by External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Now, we'll have to wait and see what India's stand is going to be. But one thing is clear at this point is that either sides do not want to be the first ones to call off this talk. It's very apparent from the Pakistan NSA Sartaj Aziz's press conference this afternoon.
Absolutely, both sides are unwilling to take a final call, waiting for the other probably to take a final decision. Let's also get a word from Kasfar, who's with us live from Islamabad. Kasfar, Sartaj Aziz is also taking a very tough stand against India, saying that he's armed with 3 dossiers which actually provide evidence about Raw's alleged involvement in Raw's activities in Pakistan.
Yes, you rightly said, but let me clear. Sartaj Aziz has proved he is a really very fine diplomat. He has sent the ball in India's court. I have the documents which he presented before the media men during the press briefing. We need to focus on the very first line. That is, I'm reading it. I am very disappointed that India has virtually cancelled the first ever official talk between the National Security Advisor. So it means Pakistan has accused Indian side that it's not Pakistan, rather it's the Indian side that has called off the NSA talks. So one thing is clear, Pakistan believes it has the right to meet the Hurriyat leaders, so it has exercised its right. So it is up to India that Indian side has virtually cancelled the talk. So I think previously the deadlock has reached between the 2 sides, and this statement is going to add to the miseries of the both sides. So this one, that Pakistan is disappointed by Indian side, it means Indian side will have to answer to this question as well. So at the moment, in Pakistan has taken a very tough stance, as you have rightly said. It's a tough stance, and I am doubtful that either side will proceed to the talks as well.
All right, Maha, Sartaj Aziz in his press conference also said that Kashmir is something that was on the UFA agenda as well. He's also accused India of conducting diplomacy through the media, saying that the government is trying to gauge the country's response by leaking information in the media and seeing what the response is, and then accordingly they'll decide their next step.
Well, for the first question, Simi, it is Pakistan's interpretation of what happened in UFA. Point number one clearly said that the discussion between the two NSAs that will be held in New Delhi will focus on terrorism, as I had pointed out earlier. There were other 2 points. One which said that tensions should be brought down on the LOC, that a conducive atmosphere should be created there, and all outstanding issues should be discussed between the two sides. Now, Pakistan is interpreting that all outstanding issues bit as Pakistan. They are saying, therefore, they have a right to put that in the agenda for the NSA level talks as well. India sticks to its stance, saying that it was clearly mentioned that the NSA talks will only focus on terrorism, and therefore there should be no deviation on that front. Let me quickly also point out, Simi, that at 4 o'clock, the briefing that is to take place by Sushma Swaraj, we understand that the Foreign Secretary is going to be briefing her on that. The Foreign Secretary, S. Jaishankar, has been in touch with the Prime Minister, the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, as well as the External Affairs Minister, Sushma Swaraj. He is clearly in the loop on what all these 3 top officers think. He is going to be briefing Sushma Swaraj before she steps out and speaks with the media at 4 p.m. What we also know is that Sushma Swaraj had a meeting yesterday itself with Ajit Doval over the issue. So all in all, the projection that we are given at this point in time is that all the top officers are on the same page over the matter. Now, how Sushma Swaraj picks up from where Sartaj Aziz has left, saying that Pakistan is ready for the talks, that Sartaj Aziz himself is willing to travel to New Delhi, but not on preconditions. In the morning, they had also, sources had told India Today that they do not want any conditional or dictational is what they had told me, dictational diplomacy. That means they don't want India to dictate terms to them. So under these circumstances, we'll have to wait and see how Sushma Swaraj takes this forward.
Right, so all eyes on that important press conference that the External Affairs Minister is expected to address. Let's also get a word from our Deputy Editor, Smita Sharma, who's with us live from Delhi. Smita, important developments against the backdrop of that press conference that's expected to take place in a short while from now. Shabbir Shah has been detained after he arrived in the national capital. So the government's still not clear on whether or not they will be allowing those separatists who are landing in Delhi, whether or not they'll allow them to meet the Pak NSA if Sartaj Aziz does decide to travel to India.
Well, India has made it very clear, Simi, that as far as the Hurriyat is concerned, India has drawn the red line and is sticking to it. And there will be no question of India allowing meeting of Sartaj Aziz with the Hurriyat leaders here in Delhi. But what our sense is from the press conference that Sartaj Aziz addressed in Islamabad just 2 hours back is that Pakistan has now sort of offered a last compromise formula. From the tone and tenor of how he addressed the press conference, it was very clear that Pakistan is expecting that Sushma Swaraj, when she addresses the press conference here in Jawaharlal Nehru Bhavan, the stage for which is set, which is at 4 o'clock this afternoon, that if she comes out here on this stage and announces that India does recognize that yes, and accept that Kashmir can be a part of the NSA official talks, then perhaps they will be able to climb down one step as well and say that, even if Hurriyat is detained, Sartaj Aziz can come in here for the meeting. So I think that's the kind of compromise that we are looking at. India so far, which has been focusing and saying that in context of the UFA statement, this NSA talk will only be about terror. But from Sartaj Aziz, the sort of sense that we got is they are ready to come into New Delhi as long as Sushma now says that no, we are also all right if you come ahead and discuss Kashmir. But what we are not all right is you meeting with Hurriyat. Perhaps that is the kind of compromise that Sartaj Aziz will then make from the Pakistan side.
Right, and Maha, considering the talks are being held against a backdrop of extreme hostility, we're also seeing repeated ceasefire violations along the LOC. A lot of strategic experts are saying that even if the two sides do come together on the talks table, there could be very few takeaways from this crucial meeting.
And that question was very aptly answered by Sartaj Aziz himself. One of the reporters asked him this precise question, Simi, and he said that anyway, they were not looking at any big takeaway from this NSA level talks. They were just holding these talks as the first step towards something more. He made it clear that that despite the acrimony that we are seeing at this present juncture, according to Sartaj Aziz, they are still open for talks, and that is the sense that we got in India as well. India has been saying, despite the ceasefire violations, despite the killing of the civilians, a lot of people were saying, why is that not the red line? That if civilians are being killed, if ceasefire is being violated, then why should Hurriyat be the red line? So to that, India has been sticking, India has been saying that we are still willing to talk because dialogue is the only way out. So clearly that question has been answered, that anyway there is acrimony on both the sides. It has been like that in the past, and dialogue is the only way out. We can't wait for the situation to become conducive, so to speak, before we start talking. The need of the hour is that the two sides talk and bring the hostilities down on the border that we are seeing at this point.